come to work. We're rooting for the Dolphins. Our mighty, mighty Dolphins. We're rooting for the Dolphins. Our mighty, mighty Dolphins. We're rooting for the Dolphins. Our mighty, mighty Dolphins. We're rooting for the Dolphins. Our mighty, mighty Dolphins. We're rooting for the Dolphins, our mighty, mighty Dolphins. We're rooting for the Dolphins, our mighty, mighty Dolphins. We're rooting for the Dolphins, our mighty, mighty Dolphins. We're rooting for the Dolphins, our mighty, mighty Dolphins. We're rooting for the Dolphins, our mighty, mighty Dolphins. We're rooting for the Dolphins, our mighty, mighty Dolphins. We're rooting for the Dolphins, our mighty, mighty Dolphins. We're rooting for the Dolphins, our mighty, mighty Dolphins. We're rooting for the Dolphins, our mighty, mighty Dolphins.
You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. Hey, when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. 'Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Hello, Miami Dolphin fans, and welcome to the Same Old Dolphin Show, part of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network. I'm Josh Katzker. With me today and every day, my brother from the exact same mother, Aaron the Brain. Aaron, say hello to the people.
Hello to the people. Happy draft night.
Happy draft night. It's the Same Old Dolphins draft show. And guess what? We're right off the bat. We have... We've got breaking news. The San Francisco 49ers, with the third pick in the draft, have just selected Trey Lance from North Dakota State, which sets the ball rolling. The news, the buzz all day long has been that the Atlanta Falcons were looking to trade potentially that number 4 pick. And the idea, but one of the things that was said was that if they didn't trade that pick, they were going to stay put at 4th, draft Kyle Pitts. The one that was kind of the common knowledge today, or at least that's what the buzz was going around the internet. But the other thing that we heard today was that if Trey Lance was available somehow and fell to the Falcons at 4, that they might select him instead. Lance now off the board going to the 49ers, which means perhaps the Falcons are taking Kyle Pitts, which still leaves the Dolphins in a really good position to make a draft pick, to make their selection. We'll get into all of this in just a minute, but listen, it's draft night. We're Dolphin fans. It's an exciting draft for us because there's quite a bit that is possible over the next few days as the Dolphins try to build this team and take us from 10 wins sitting on the outside looking in at the playoffs last season to making the playoffs and perhaps winning a few games this year and maybe even being dark horse Super Bowl contenders in 2021. Anything is possible. Let's maybe not get carried away, but it's draft night. That's what we do. We get carried away. Brain, how are you feeling?
I'm excited. I'm pumped. And seeing Trey Lance go right there, a couple of days ago, I think if somebody would have told you that Trey Lance was going to go there, I think that most people would have said, hey, that's kind of your first big shocker of the night. I know, your rumors start going and now it's not too big of a surprise, but hey, I mean, that was the first interesting part of the draft. Everybody knew Trevor Lawrence was going 1. Everybody knew Zach Wilson was going number 2 to the Jets. Trey Lance now at number 3. And now we get to the fun part. What are the Atlanta Falcons going to do? Personally, I really don't have any doubt what they're going to do. Even if San Francisco had gone Mac Jones there, or for whatever reason had gone Fields there, and Trey Lance was still on the board, I don't believe for a second that Atlanta is not taking Kyle Pitts. When you look at Matt Ryan's success as a starting quarterback in this league, his early success as a quarterback in this league, all of those great years throwing to Tony Gonzalez, why wouldn't you go after a guy like Kyle Pitts, who most of the scouts would agree upon is the best player available that isn't a quarterback in this draft? So for me, I mean, yeah, I guess there's always a possibility that you're going to get blown away with a trade offer. But barring that, I think it's a no-brainer for Atlanta. I think they're taking Kyle Pitts here, much to the chagrin of many Dolphins fans. Not really myself, because I've let it be known that as much as I wouldn't mind the Kyle Pitts draft pick for the Dolphins, I just don't love the fit. I think we need a more of a pure wide receiver than we need another wide receiver tight end hybrid, as good as Kyle Pitts would be. I kind of take a sigh of relief here if Atlanta takes Kyle Pitts. I know that's going to get me a lot of hate from all the people in this chat room.
Boy.
So feel free. If you love Kyle Pitts and you're hoping that he's going to be there at 6 and you think that I'm just an idiot for this opinion, let me know in the comments section.
Yeah, tag him in the comments here in the chat room on Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, the I Am a Miami Dolphins Fan Facebook page. If you're watching on the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel, we invite you to like this video. Help us out. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. It helps us out a great deal. Everybody, are you slamming the brain? Let us know. You can also tweet at him at Aaron the Brain. But I also want to mention just a couple things as we begin our broadcast tonight. I want to send a quick thank you to our friends at finheaven.com, the official message board of dolphinstalk.com. Head over there. If you like the message board scene, that's the place to be, finheaven.com. Additionally, I got to give a big shout out to our good friend Efren, who has been creating the graphics that we're using here for the Same Old Dolphin show. The logo that he's created for us, our show logo. He's also created graphics for dolphinstalk.com, including all of the graphics that you're seeing this evening. So we invite you to make sure you follow him on Twitter. It is at Fins, PHINSFB, at FinsFB. That's Efren, and he's an awesome guy, and we appreciate all the work that he has done for the Same Old Dolphin show. And also, I want to mention that the Same Old Dolphin show is sponsored by Manscaped. So make sure you head over to manscaped.com and use the promo code DolphinsTalk to save 20% off of your order and get free shipping so that you can get a good deal on some elite men's grooming equipment. We're talking a lot about elite players and players that are going to do well for their team. You're going to do well for your team if you take care of yourself below the belt with Manscaped. By using the promo code DolphinsTalk, you'll save yourself 20% off your order and get free shipping. Again, that's manscaped.com. Use the promo code DolphinsTalk. And as we come out of that ad read there, it looks like we've got some additional breaking news coming here. It looks like the Falcons pick is in. It felt like that happened pretty quick. So we're going to find out pretty soon whether or not the Dolphins missed out on Kyle Pitts. I really don't like that framing that maybe the Dolphins missed out on him, but here we are. That's kind of how it's being presented because of the fact that the Dolphins traded down to 12 and then back up to 4 when they were already sitting at 3. But, this is the story. Here comes Roger Goodell coming down the pathway. We're going to find out who the Falcons have picked. You're pretty certain here, Brain. You think there's no chance they're going QB. They're absolutely going Kyle Pitts.
Well, I'm not going to say that there's no chance, but for me, Kyle Pitts is the pick. No brainer.
All right. Well, let's find out what it is that Roger Goodell has to say to all
There it is.
And there it is. Kyle Pitts is an Atlanta Falcon. So the Dolphins do not get Kyle Pitts. He's off the board. The dynamic generational talent at tight end, Kyle Pitts, is going to Atlanta. And we know that now he's off the board. So now the focus really shifts to those 3 wide receivers. And now as the Bengals are preparing to pick, this is the place where we could see the Bengals take Jamar Chase, or we could see them stick and hang steady and boost up their offensive line with Penei Sewell. So, Brain, where do you think Cincinnati is going? And let's say Cincinnati takes Penei Sewell. Give us your breakdown of how you see the remaining wide receivers who we're pretty confident the Dolphins are going to take here with this 6th pick coming up.
So for me, as far as what Cincinnati does here, I think it's just, look, do you want to go with the dynamic weapon, or do you want to go with the protection of getting a franchise left tackle for Joe Burrow? Either way, you're giving Joe Burrow a lot of help with this pick. So you're either getting him his favorite target from his days at LSU, or you're getting him arguably the best tackle in the draft. I think you can make a case for either one. As far as if they do go Penei Sewell, which is my hope, because I don't want the Dolphins to use this premium of a pick on an offensive lineman, considering how heavily they addressed offensive line last offseason. I think this year is about investing in the weapons, giving your offensive linemen a year to develop and see what you've got there, what you spent so heavily on last year. So when it comes to the wide receivers, who I hope all 3 will be there after this pick, my order is Jamar Chase, Jaylen Waddle, and then Devontae Smith. To me, Jamar Chase, the reason that I have him ranked ahead of Jaylen Waddle and ahead of Devontae Smith is I just think there's very little chance that he ends up being any kind of a bust. I think he's the most sure thing at the wide receiver position. So while you can nitpick and you could say, well, he didn't get the best separation, he's not the most polished route runner, the dude put up monster numbers in 2019 and showed himself to be an athletic freak, not only when he was on the field in 2019, but then at his pro day just a few weeks ago. And the other 2 guys just have question marks. When it comes to the 2 Alabama receivers, when it comes to Jaylen Waddle, look, fastest receiver, maybe the fastest player ever. I had heard that based on his GPS timing, he was actually the fastest clocked player ever using the GPS positional timing. So there's excitement in that, but you have to wonder, how much sense it makes to take a wide receiver there who really was never the true number one target on his team in his time at Alabama. Now, granted, he's had a lot of competition. He was behind Jerry Jeudy, he was behind Henry Ruggs, and he was behind the other guy, Devontae Smith. And you can make the case that, well, he outproduced Devontae Smith, and that would be true from a yards perspective or a yards per target or yards per catch perspective. But as far as targets and who was the actual go-to guy in that offense while Jaylen Waddle was healthy last season, Devontae Parker was the guy. I mean, not Devontae Parker. Devontae Smith was the guy that Mac Jones looked to when he needed a reception. So really, Devontae Smith was the go-to guy. So why not Devontae Smith there? Well, Devontae Smith, while he's the most polished route runner in this draft of this group, and while he probably has the best hands of this group, I just don't think you can overlook the size aspect of it. He would be the smallest from a density standpoint receiver to ever play in the draft or in the NFL. So like smaller than Deshaun Jackson. And this isn't a guy that is going to blow you away with breakaway speed as a deep threat. This is a guy who's more of a, route runner, going over the middle of the field kind of guy. And I just look, I would love Devontae Smith, on my team. And I think he's going to be a really good player, but I think there's inherent risk there that there just isn't when it comes to Jamar Chase. And you could say the same thing with Jaylen Waddle.
Yeah, and I think that seems to be the consensus, that Chase is the big body kind of NFL receiver. He's the prototype. He's also very similar to the guys the Dolphins already have. He's very similar to Devontae Parker. He's very similar to a guy like Preston Williams. You know, he fits right in there. So he's a very similar guy, and that might be something that the Dolphins like. They might really like that prototype and that type of player. So the pick is by the way.
Yeah,
I should mention
necessarily. Yeah, not to cut you off here, but I wouldn't necessarily say that Jamar Chase is similar to Devontae Parker and to Preston Williams. Those guys have some inches on Jamar Chase. Those guys aren't quite as explosive as Jamar Chase. Don't play with necessarily the demeanor of a Jamar Chase. So I don't know that it's really a fair comp. Sure, he's more like those guys than the other two guys are, but I don't know that it's a fair comp.
Well, the thing to note here as the pick is in for the Cincinnati Bengals, that means that your Miami Dolphins are officially on the clock. So it is happening. It is real. It is there. Your Miami Dolphins are on the clock. We're going to have a pick really soon. And we are moments away from knowing that field is narrowed down just a little bit. Is it going to be the Dolphins having the choice of the 3 receivers? Is it going to be Is it going to be 2 receivers and an offensive tackle? Are the Dolphins going to make a move? Something that we have not mentioned at all is that one of the teams that the Dolphins were rumored to be talking with about maybe trading down from 6 was the Denver Broncos. And shortly before the draft went on the air tonight, news started to break that the Denver Broncos were very close to having a trade in place for Aaron Rodgers, who news broke earlier today that he and the Packers have reached a breaking point, and that he was apparently so disgruntled that he was ready to be traded. And now that's heating up, and it sounds like Aaron Rodgers may very well be on his way to Denver. According to one report, the deal was as close to a done deal as possible. So it means that in all likelihood, the Dolphins are going to be staying pat at 6 and making the pick. So I don't know. We're just waiting to find out who the Bengals have chosen. And once we find that out, we will go on from there, and we can really start to break it down who it's going to be. If you want to let us know who should the Dolphins pick, I see some folks here. I see somebody here wants Jaylen Waddle. Let's see there. We got somebody saying trade to the Cowboys. Somebody saying Waddle. It's an exciting time. Everybody's very excited. Let's see what it is that the Bengals did. Does Goodell come out there? Is he walking down the aisle yet?
Not yet.
Parsons. Somebody wants Parsons. If the Dolphins,
look, I like Micah Parsons, but I mean it's too early. If Micah Parsons is your target, then we should absolutely be exploring a trade down.
Very interesting here. A lot of Chase and Waddle in the chat. Not a lot of Devontae Smith. So isn't that interesting? Here comes Roger Goodell. He's going to let us know who the Bengals have chosen, and that is going to the brain really wants him to say Sewell. Let's find out who it is that the Cincinnati Bengals have drafted at number 5. There it is. They have drafted Jamar Chase. He's off the board. So this was what a lot of Miami Dolphin fans were calling the quote-unquote nightmare scenario for the Dolphins, in that because of the way the trade happened, they went from 3 and having their pick of the non-quarterback skill players in this draft. The non-quarterback players, they could have taken the best player available, but instead they traded down to 12 and then traded back up to 6. And there's a lot of ways that you can look at this. Was this Chris Greer overplaying his hand? Or is this not? Was this part of the plan? We don't know how high the Dolphins really were on Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase. But now we're in this situation where here we have the Dolphins at 6. And the Dolphins, now of the pass catchers that were available at the beginning, which were Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, Jaylen Waddle, and Devontae Smith, they're down to two. It's Waddle and Smith. Those are the two pass catchers left. Of course, Penny Sewell is there. If they decide to go the offensive line route, Rashawn Slater is there, which is, a lot of buzz was that the NFL is a lot higher on Rashawn Slater than perhaps Twitter was and social media was. But the Dolphins have this position. I should mention that from where I sit between these two players, between Waddle and Smith, Waddle is the guy I like better. And the reason for that is because he is a burner. And just imagine for a moment that you've got Mike Gesicki, Albert Wilson, Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, and Jaylen Waddle all in the field at the same time. You've got a problem if you're a defense trying to cover those guys all at the same time. You've got Waddle and potentially Waddle and Fuller who can both blow the roof off of the joint. And I think that's really going to stretch the field, and that's going to open things up underneath for Devontae Parker and for Preston Williams, potentially for Mike Gesicki as well. Listen, and if they go with Devontae Smith, yes, he's undersized, and that is a concern for a lot of people, but he is an elite route runner, and everybody is really excited about that. So I would agree with Fred's comment here that the trade was a good trade because all of these options can help us. I said that at the very beginning. The Dolphins were perfectly positioned. They were in a position where they were going to get somebody that is going to help them. And we're hearing now that the pick is in. The Dolphins have made their selection. So we're moments away from finding out who that pick is. They did not make a trade, evidently. So they stayed pat, as we suspected that they probably would, given Carolina picking up Sam Darnold and Denver apparently in position to make a deal with Green Bay. Be very interesting to see if Denver ends up making a draft pick here. But at any rate, here we are. The Dolphins are making a pick, and we're going to find out. Is it Waddle? Is it Smith? Is it Penny Sewell? We're going to find out in just a moment.
And
Brand,
like
any
I
last
said,
comments before they make this pick?
and like I said, look, at the end of the day, they're going to get a good player here. The problem is if you take Penny Sewell here, you've invested. To me, it's overkill a little bit on the offensive line.
I agree.
You also just brought in DJ Fluker to man one of the tackle positions. So now you have, if you bring in Penei Sewell, now you've got two swing tackles in Jesse Davis and DJ Fluker, and then you're going to play, and then you're going to move Robert Hunt inside. To me, it just doesn't make sense. To me, you got to get weapons. You invested enough on the offensive line last season. Let's get Tua some help. Let's get him some weapons. Let's get him the best weapon that's on the board. For my money, it's Jaylen Waddle, because if you put Jaylen Waddle and Will Fuller on the field at the same time, you're in trouble. You've got to play too deep. That opens everything up underneath. That takes a guy out of the box. That opens things up for your running game. You can get an offensive lineman later. Totally. We can address the offensive line. Get yourself the best weapon on the board. I would have loved Jamar Chase to be here. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. But that said, to me, Jaylen Waddle is the pick here. I would have been okay with them trading down, but they made a pick. So to me, it's Jaylen Waddle. If it is Devontae Smith, again, I'm not hating it, because in my opinion, Devontae Smith, best route runner of the bunch, best hands of the bunch. You can't really go wrong there, but there's a certain level of excitement when you get a guy like Jaylen Waddle.
Absolutely. And they're going to be blowing the roof off of the place. And so we're super excited to see who it is that the Miami Dolphins are going to select with this pick. Is it another weapon for Tua? Is it offensive line? We're moments away from finding out. We're waiting to learn who it's going to be. There's been a lot of speculation about this, but the talk all last year towards the end of the year was that, especially when Tua was in, was that one of the problems was that he didn't have receivers that could separate. They couldn't get separation. Well, now you've got potentially Will Fuller and potentially Jaylen Waddle. Talk about guys that can give you separation. Those are the guys. You're going to have separation, and that's going to also open up space, as we mentioned, for some of those other guys underneath. So I think this is a big, big moment here, and we're going to find out who the Dolphins have selected. This is it. Last year, it seemed like everybody was rooting for one thing, and it happened. This year, everybody's a little bit more split, but it's going to happen. We're going to have somebody. Is it going to be that key weapon, or is it going to be bulk up on the offensive line? Here is Roger Goodell. Let's find out who the pick is. Here we go. It is Jaylen Waddle. Yes, from Alabama. We're stretching the field. We're creating separation. We're going to be going all the way down the field, ladies and gentlemen. The Miami Dolphins. Oh, and Brain, guess what else? Guess what else I can do now that the Dolphins have made this pick? I can do this.
Waddle.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Amazing.
Here we go.
And yes, and for the second year in a row, look, maybe not everybody agrees with it this year. They didn't screw it up. They didn't screw it up.
The Miami Dolphins did not screw it up. They have selected Jaylen Waddle from the University of Alabama. And boy, oh boy, it is happening now, folks. The Miami Dolphins now have Jaylen Waddle, Will Fuller, Devontae Parker, Preston Williams, and as of now, Albert Wilson, Alan Hearns, Jakeem Grant. But listen, one of the things that we said...
Obviously, those guys aren't all going to make the roster.
No, they are not all going to make the roster. But as we said at the beginning of this offseason was going to be a success if Jakeem Grant was not seeing substantial playing time as a primary receiver for the Miami Dolphins. As things stand right now...
Forget substantial. He's not going to see any playing time for the Miami Dolphins because he's not even going to make the roster.
Yeah, I mean, he might not. But you know what? And you know what else? You know who probably could be back there helping to return punts?
Jaylen.
That's right. Listen, folks, if you don't think you're going to be hearing that for the rest, for at least the next 4 years, get ready, baby. The Miami Dolphins have Jaylen Waddle. He's a Miami Dolphin. How you feeling about this pick, folks? Let us know in the comments. Here we go. Check this out. Mike Molnar says, finally, excited for a damn draft pick. Nice duck, Waddle. Here we go. Everybody, this is wonderful. This is fantastic. A lot of excitement from the Waddle people. Everybody's excited. Like the whole chat, everybody's just super excited about Jaylen Waddle. Are you feeling excited about Jaylen Waddle? You got to tweet at us. Let us know how you're feeling. Tweet at us. I'm at Amplified to Rock. He's at Aaron the Brain. The show is at Samuel Dolphins. Give us a follow as well. We appreciate that and look forward to chatting with you all season. We want to get your feedback about these draft picks as well. So the Miami Dolphins now have Jaylen Waddle. He's going to stretch the field. And listen, this is it, right? They got a weapon for Tua Tagovailoa. This was all, and this is the first one. And I don't think that this is going to be the last piece that is added, but this is the big one. We knew they needed a strong weapon at wide receiver. They needed a pass catcher, and they got it. They got one of the elite pass catchers. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I had Waddle ranked above Chase in my rankings because of how his game fits in with what the Dolphins do. I mean, you're looking at a situation where if Jaylen Waddle can stay healthy and Will Fuller can stay healthy, and that's a big question mark for this team, right? Because these are two guys that have injury problems in their history, right? But if these two guys can stay healthy and you can get them on the field together for 17 games this year, you're talking about, you want to talk about problems that this team is going to cause other teams? How do you cover both Jaylen Waddle and Will Fuller and Devontae Parker and potentially keep an eye on somebody catching passes out of the backfield? I mean, this is a huge signing for the Miami Dolphins.
Well,
it's not a signing yet, but it's a huge pick.
So I love the pick, but we need to address that there's an opportunity cost here. So when you get this comment, we needed someone to protect Tua, not a wide receiver who gets injured. Look, there's a valid point to be made here.
That is a fair point.
the Dolphins offensive line still has question marks, and Jaylen Waddle got hurt last year. Now, look, wide receivers, get hurt from time to time. He didn't get hurt the year before. You're going to hold it against him that he got injured. I thought he showed a lot of toughness. The fact that he played at less than 100% in the national title game. The Dolphins, these guys went to the combine. They got poked and prodded. He didn't get flagged for anything medically. I don't think the Dolphins make this pick if there are concerns about him staying healthy. Look, could he get injured? Sure. Any player can get injured. You could draft Penei Sewell and he could tear his ACL on the first day of training camp. Jaylen Waddle could do the same thing. You just don't know with those things. So you can't really, unless there's like a degenerative issue or something specific that tells you this guy is definitely at a higher risk of getting hurt, then you just don't factor that in. It's just part of the game. And so you look at the player. The fact is, there are other tackles there. I don't believe that Penei Sewell is necessarily a generational tackle. We didn't even see him play this past season. The year before, he won a lot of his reps with athleticism versus technique, which a lot of people were saying the same thing about the Dolphins' current left tackle, Austin Jackson, who also dominated players in the Pac-12 with his athleticism more than his technique. So I think there's question marks about Penei Sewell there. And the fact is this: the Dolphins, again, they invested incredibly heavily on the offensive line last season in bringing in 3 draft picks. They also brought in Eric Flowers. I know he's not on the team anymore. They brought in Ted Karras. He's not on the team anymore, but they brought in another center this year. They just brought in DJ Fluker. The fact that they traded for Isaiah Wilson, even though that didn't work out, that should tell you something as well. This was the plan all along. The Dolphins were never sold on Penei Sewell. They were always going to go pass catcher here. And you can make the argument that maybe Jamar Chase was going to be the better fit. He was going to be their guy, and he wasn't there. So you're mad at Chris Greer for trading back and then trading up and, blowing their shot at either Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts. But the fact is, the Dolphins wouldn't have done what they did if they weren't going to be comfortable with any of those pass catchers. Absolutely. And the fact is, they still got one of the premier pass catchers in the draft, maybe the top guy on their board. We may never know, because I'm sure the Dolphins are going to play the politically correct game, and they're going to say Jaylen Waddle was the top guy on their board, and we're not really going to know whether or not we can believe that. But they got a guy that they wanted, and they got an extra 1 and a 3. So I mean, you can't hate the pick if you think that they're going to be comfortable with Jaylen Waddle. Now, if Jaylen Waddle turns out to be a bust and Jamar Chase turns out to be a Pro Bowl / MVP / Hall of Fame talent, then this is going to be looked at as a really awful scenario for Miami. But right now, look, it was a great trade, and this is a really good pick.
Yep, absolutely. So this sets the Dolphins up. They've got their big time pass catcher. So now, I mean, this is the sexy pick a lot of people have been asking this team to make for a long time. They finally did it. Sexy pick. They got themselves an elite receiver.
Waddle, waddle.
And the other thing is that, and this is just something, I was thinking about, the Dolphins' first round draft pick next year is the pick that had previously belonged to the San Francisco 49ers. The Dolphins traded their 22 pick to Carolina in the trade to move back up to 6. So the Dolphins have the 49ers pick next year, and the 49ers just picked Trey Lance, who the consensus is this is a guy that's going to need to sit on the bench for a year because he's not going to be ready to play for a year. So San Francisco going to commit to another year of Mullins and Garoppolo and that kind of stuff. And maybe the 49ers have another kind of yuck year and the Dolphins end up with a pretty high draft pick next year. I don't know. Just another kind of tangential fact of the matter here. So I think what we're going to do is take a quick break here.
Why don't we do this before we go on a break? Why don't we at least kind of scope out, kind of preview the Dolphins' next pick, a way that they could go before that comes up. And then we'll take our break for a little bit, and we'll come back a few picks before the Dolphins pick at 18, presumably at 18, unless they have other ideas.
Right, because that's always a possibility with Chris Greer out here.
The prevailing wisdom is that they could go one of two ways. They could either go top running back on the board because nobody's expecting Najee Harris or whatever running back you like, whether it's Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams. Nobody's expecting a running back to be gone off the board when the Dolphins come up at 18. Potentially the top edge rusher, Jaylen Phillips and Kwity Paye. Take your pick on those two guys. Jaylen Phillips, probably the higher upside guy, but also probably the riskier guy with the concussion issues, a medical retirement in his past, versus Kwity Paye, a guy who's very durable, has, all the great stories of his character and really seems to kind of fit, seems like a Brian Flores guy. So which way do they go there as far as edge rusher, or do they not go edge rusher at all? Do they go Najee Harris? And here's another possibility that hasn't really been talked about too much. It's been talked about here and there. I didn't talk about it. You didn't talk about it. So we didn't talk about it. But Tevin Jenkins is, if you believe that the Dolphins, if you believe that the Dolphins should have gone Penei Sewell with this pick, well, Tevin Jenkins is an offensive tackle that also has a first round grade that may very well be there when the Dolphins pick at 18. So if you really feel like the Dolphins missed out by not taking Penei Sewell, and assuming Penei Sewell does not fall to 18, because I don't believe that that's going to happen, and I don't know what Detroit and Carolina have done because I've been too busy talking to pay attention. So if either of those guys have gone, let me know. But
Penei Sewell is gone.
Penei Sewell is gone. Okay, good.
Detroit took Penei Sewell.
But if you believe that the Dolphins missed out on Penei Sewell, Tevin Jenkins would be a hell of a pick for you, because then you still got the weapon that you wanted and you still got a really great offensive tackle. And I think if that's the route that you want to go, if you're still adamant that the Dolphins need to get a pass rusher in the first round of this draft, an elite, not pass rusher, a pass protector, if you still believe that the Dolphins need to get a tackle here, hey, Tevin Jenkins may very well be there at 18. So there are options that are going to be there. There's going to be some great options. Either way, I think the Dolphins are going to be set up really nicely to have a great pick at 18.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities out there. I mean, this is the thing to remember, right? And this is why Bill O'Brien and Laramie Tunsil should have their names on the Ring of Honor at Hard Rock Stadium, because that pick that we just made at 6, Jaylen Waddle. Thank you, Laramie Tunsil. Thank you, Bill O'Brien. That's where that pick, that was a bonus pick. That was a bonus pick. The Dolphins pick is still coming up. So that, the Dolphins have set themselves up so well in this draft with so much capital that they're gonna really stack up. I mean, and these are kind of premium picks, right? They've got 4 sort of premium picks in the top 50 of this draft. That's a really great situation the Dolphins are in, and they've got kind of ultimate flexibility here. So the Dolphins have that possibility of going kind of whichever way they want to with their next pick. South Carolina takes first cornerback, or I'm sorry, the Carolina Panthers took J.C. Horn, first cornerback off the board. How about that? That's kind of a little bit of a surprise there. Yeah. That's a little bit of a surprise at 6. So listen, this is where the draft gets a little bit unpredictable. There may be players hanging around at 18 that we didn't expect to be there. The Dolphins might make a move. They might trade up. They might trade down. Broncos are on the clock right now. I'm really interested to see what they do here because of what all the buzz was before the draft. Lots of things going on out there, but the Dolphins are in a position to set themselves up. So we'll be back here. If you're watching live on YouTube, the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel, again, smash that like button, hit subscribe, share this out, tweet it to your friends. If you're watching on the I Am a Miami Dolphins Facebook, I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page, or if you're watching on @Dolphins Talk on Twitter, we appreciate you joining us for this first live hit. We're going to come back a little bit later, probably round about the time that Vegas is on the clock at 17. we'll hop back on here and prepare to talk about what the Dolphins are going to do on at 18. And maybe we'll even be on a little bit earlier. And of course, if you're listening to this on demand, you're listening to it in podcast form. Fantastic. Wonderful. Thank you for listening. We're glad you're part of this. And of course, don't forget, for those of you watching live, Mike Oliva and Tom Ernest from DolphinsTalk.com and the DolphinsTalk.com daily podcast will be in your ears tomorrow morning. They're going to record this evening an episode of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast recapping all of tonight's draft action, and that'll be available in your ears first thing tomorrow morning, as will be the Same Old Dolphin Show with the audio from these live shows that we are doing here tonight. So thanks everybody for joining us. We're going to sign off for just a little bit, but we'll be back a little bit later for pick number 18. And in the meantime, as always, go Dolphins!
Go Dolphins!
Waddle, waddle.